Gods in your world, a pain or a blessing? Let's talk about it. Hi folks, old Man Grognard here, and I want to talk about Pantheon's gods and clerics in your games. I enjoy playing a cleric. I didn't think I would, but I do. You've got some magical ability, and you can kick butt if you need to. They're not just for healing anymore. They never should have been. Now, as far as gods and pantheons go, there's the old standby, this one, and I never thought this book was any good. I mean, I'm not going to say it wasn't any good. I didn't feel like I had any use for it, because these are gods of different cultures. These are actual worshipped gods from different culture, and some fictional things like Mark, Cthulhu, things like that, but mostly like the Egyptian gods, the Norse gods, the Native American gods. That kind of thing. I don't like them as much as I like the smaller gods. This is my speed right here. This book and this book right here, Petty Gods, especially this book. See, as far as the regular gods go, first of all, it's interesting, but it didn't have any real effect on my game play. Because, a lot of people saw this as like a super monster manual. They're going to go out and kill gods. Well, I don't want them killing gods. And gods may affect the world sometime, but they really didn't. So it's like, well, there's a lot of nice things here, but, what do I do with it? But then I thought, it's not the gods themselves. It's their worshipers, their clergy that are interesting. That's why I like things like the unknown gods or petty gods, things like that, because they give you these godlings, demigods, and may have some gods that are rather powerful, but just aren't, they're like niche gods. I like that because, first of all, I like funny, screwy things. Okay, sorry, that's the way I am. But I also like interesting things. Because if you've got like the god of light, well, that's nice. But what if you have the god of northern lights or will-o-wisps or something smaller? The god of sunsets or sunrises. Then you start narrowing it down. And also there's all those like agricultural gods, because those peasants have to be worshiping something to keep their crops going and stuff like this. And one of my gods in my world I made was, because this came up in a Labyrinth Lord, we were playing on Roll20 one time, Labyrinth Lord, and the DM, for some reason we came up with Potatoes, the god of potatoes, who I said looked like Mr. Potato Head with Roman robes. And we were just, haha, that's a joke. But I took Potatoes and made him a god in my world. I changed his portfolio a bit. I made him the god of potatoes and agriculture. So it gave him a little wider portfolio. Or I could make him the god of potatoes and good crops. Kind of big, but it works. I just love regional stuff like that, because the characters are going to be going all over the place. And they're going to bump into like the god of turkeys or the god of burrowing animals or the god of wildfires. Who knows? One of my favorites in the petty gods is one that Janelle Jacquet's illustrated, is Otto, the god of cheese. I mean, that's like catnip to me, I could imagine, because once you start with the god and you find out what his portfolio is and what his shtick is, and instead of having him come down and help the adventurers or hinder them or whatever and interfere with their, ungodly whatever, you could do that. Yeah, that's fine, but you can't do that all the time. You start having fun with their clergy. I am still when I think of this, I think of, there's a scene in the movie Ralph Bakshi's Wizards where two of Black Wolf's troop of Blackwood soldiers come across this temple of, I forget whatever god it is, and there's two little guys in there with beards and everything, and it's like, well, before we can help you, or before we have there, I think they're going to evacuate. Before we do that, we have to do our prayer to the god, and they do this thing where it takes hours and hours, and they're just getting ridiculous, and they start dancing and stuff. They wheel one guy across on a cross, and it's like, and this apparently goes on like until sunset, like 2-3 hours later, and the bad guys finally end up blowing up the temple. But that's what I think of when I think of like the regional gods and their clerics. I mean, you've not only got that. I mean, yeah, I can see the adventurers come into a temple in midday, and they find that all the priests and the acolytes are standing on their head. Why? Because ours is the god of inversion, and once a day we must pray to our god by standing on our heads and such. And it's like, okay, yeah, do you have any healing potions? Yes, we do. We got to finish this. They're there for an hour watching people go while they're standing on their heads. Great stuff. Also, holidays, holy days. Maybe there's a holy day where everybody has to run around with their shoes on each other's feet, on their different feet, like a right shoe and a left shoe. Put your shoes on the wrong feet to appease the god of cobblers. Maybe it's a big town where they have a lot, they do fine leather work, they do fine shoes, they make shoes. This town is known for its shoes, so they pray to the god of cobblers, and once a year it's backwards day for the god of cobblers, and everybody wears their shoes on the wrong feet, that kind of thing. And there can always be holy days that the adventurers get caught up in at a festival. Maybe there is a festival of potatoes for crops, and things can happen there. There's big celebrations, and booths and carts and jugglers and all that kind of stuff, and they can get caught up in that. There could be stuff like thieves running around picking pockets during this time. There could be whatever, it's a festival. Anything can happen. They could be mistaken for some other blasphemer, and they get drawn out of town or whatever. But it's not the god itself. That's what I'm trying to say. It's their followers. Their followers you can have a lot of fun with, especially like the evil god, the more evil ones. Find a god in one of the books, or make up a god that's evil, but it's like a totally... There's the god of murder, and then there's the god of really bad, how shall I say it? I can't even think. You believe that? I can't even think. There's the god of murder, and then there's the god of maiming, or there's the god of Indian burns, or something like that. Something really stupid. But they have an evil plan afoot, or maybe they're being used by a more evil cultist or whatever. So, it just goes on and on and on. I'd like to hear your take on this, about gods and, how you use deities and pantheons and other things in your world. You can write me at oldmangrognard@gmail.com. I may answer here. I may answer on my other podcast, After Dark. I don't know, because I need some emails. So it's oldmangrognard@gmail.com. And so that'll be it for now. So the next time, bye-bye.